Rose or Carolyn, do you want to kick things off at all, or any?
Sure, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining. These are office hours. We had training last week and an AMA, 2 AMAs yesterday on the performance factor. So this is your opportunity again to just ask us questions about the upcoming process. We have included a few links to the handbook pages for your reference. So check those out and feel free to either verbalize or type in your question. And just for context, we'll just stay on this call for the duration of the meeting to see if anyone pops in and has a specific question. But if you don't have a question, feel free to drop at this time. We will be obviously populating answers in the doc, so you can refer back to the doc if you would like. And we have another training for managers coming up next week. So lots of support from the People Business Partner team and Total Rewards team on this process.
Hey, Carolyn, this is not the first office hours, is that right? You've done a few calls?
We have, yes. We're trying to provide a lot of opportunities because we realize this is a new process. So we had 2 AMAs yesterday. And then this is our first office hours technically, but again, an opportunity to ask questions. And we have another one coming up tonight. So, again, wanting to just provide as much opportunity as we can to make sure we're answering everything and getting all those questions answered prior to the program launching next week.
Do you have links to the questions that were asked during the AMAs?
We do. I will happily drop the link in the doc.
Awesome, thank you. And then I'll certainly go take a look at the docs, but I am curious, is there, what's kind of the most common question that's come up, or what are some of the frequent questions? I imagine that there may be folks on the call, they're thinking it, but they're not articulating it. And so I'm curious, what are some of the common ones that you've received?
It's a great question. And we've received a lot of questions in advance. We opened an issue probably about a month ago, just kind of outlining what our plan or our thought was. And so there's a lot of questions in that issue that led to iterations for where we are now from a program perspective. But actually on our performance potential page, if you scroll to the very bottom, we do have an FAQ section where we've been populating just questions that seem to pop up quite a bit with an answer. So you can refer to those questions there, mostly around like, hey, what's changing? How does this impact me? Who can I reach out for additional support? And a lot of questions around timing. So I don't know if any of those questions, again, we answer them asynchronously in the handbook, but if any of those questions are top of mind, I'm happy to answer them live now. I see the link was dropped in here as well. So under 2A, you'll see a link to the FAQ section directly. And for those of you that are just joining, these are office hours, so we're planning to stay on for the duration of the call. But if you don't have any specific questions, you're free to drop. We're here to just support the upcoming performance factor assessment that's launching next week, and wanted to make sure we were giving time and space for questions. So again, feel free to drop. We'll be answering questions asynchronously in the doc, or feel free to stay on the line as well.
I've got one. I'll just voice over while I type it. And by the way, thanks for pulling this together. It's super helpful for me to kind of wrap my head around everything. So I recently relocated from New Hampshire to South Carolina. The location factor changed, stayed flat. Are there any changes or complications that I should know about that would impact kind of a change in compensation as it relates to kind of like performance factors and my new location? Or what, like, how do I manage that? Sorry,
Yeah,
very
so
specific.
that's okay. No, that's what the time is for. I don't know if someone on the total rewards team wants to speak to location factor analysis and changes. I see Brittany might be on the line.
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm on the line. I'm at a dealership, so I have my mask on. But location factors and benchmark analysis will be adjusted when we review the next iteration of the compensation calculator, which will happen during Q4 to be released before the beginning of the fiscal year. And those inputs will be used in calculating the increases to make sure that we're aligning everybody to their local market range. Hopefully that helps and you can hear me okay.
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you. It's more about just, you know, because there's so many components that go into it, and then when you kind of read it as an employee, you kind of scratch your head. And I know everybody's doing the right thing, so just trying to make sense of it all. That's all.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll also be giving managers the details of, you know, what increase of location factor, what increase of benchmarks. That way they have all this information as well as, you know, the performance factor to take compensation into account.
Well, thank you for all that y'all do. It sounds very complicated and extremely mathy. So thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Yeah, I got a question. I'm just going to verbalize it.
Perfect.
So if we're thinking about like individuals who go above and beyond like their normal role and like, you know, the stage that, you know, we're at GitLab, like how are we like looking to like increase their growth within the organization or increase their annual pay? Because right now, like, you know, it doesn't really, for me, visibility wise, it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of avenues for that. And so I'm just curious if there's any other game plan for that.
Yeah, no, thank you for your question. And actually it's a major part of the reason why we're rolling out this program. So we are hoping that the output of this program will be those career development conversations with your manager. That's kind of the focus area for managers is having those conversations with their team members and really defining, you know, what that next step might look like for them, whether that be, you know, growing a new skill or potentially a move within your own job family or a move to a different job family. That's really where we're focusing a lot of time and attention, and we'll be training managers on that specifically. So we're hoping to provide, you know, more resources there so we can check in and make sure that that's happening across the board here.
Yeah, I would also say to Sean, you know, I think, you know, GitLab, we are investing a lot in terms of like learning and development opportunities to, you know, upskill your current skills and the team members that you lead. You know, here at GitLab, for example, we're getting a learning management system to help, you know, personalize learning for all team members. We're investing in manager and leadership training. It's a really big priority focus for the organization as we grow.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I mean, there's a lot of value beyond just like compensation, right? And so I think that's really helpful. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Tim, I think you have the next question.
Thanks. So there's just this one just randomly came to mind. We have in product, so I'm a PM. Hi, everybody. And one of the things that we do in product is we use a career development framework to kind of constantly check in with our managers, and our managers kind of lead the conversation. And it's very similar to a 9-box. But kind of like, how do you move down these paths? And we get to have those conversations. We try to do them monthly or like every other month to just check in with our managers to make sure that we are like at least thinking about our career and trying to develop it. How does this kind of like go in? How do they play together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, super excited. I didn't realize a product did that. That's super exciting.
I'll
And I
find the
think,
handbook page. Sorry.
yeah, totally. Drop the link in. I'm curious now and I want to take a peek. What I think will happen, and I think it's great that you're already having these conversations. I think managers probably in product are really well prepared to go through this process, which is great. That the feedback and that interaction between you and your manager will help inform the performance factor decision. So again, if you're having those conversations more frequently, and having those conversations transparently, I think that will help drive, quick decisions for performance factors. And then I don't expect the process to really change. I think it will just, again, be another data point that you bring into your conversation with your manager, around where you want to go and how you plan to get there, and how your manager will support that. And again, that can look like many different paths depending on who you are and what you're interested in. So again, I think it will play nicely into this process, and I'm excited to learn more about what product does, and maybe we can leverage some of it in our next iteration.
Cool. I put the link in there. I like it. It helps me understand like what other avenues there are, kind of like what Sean was talking about. And then also like it helps you kind of realize maybe some of the things that you're really good at, but the other things that you just have blind spots to that you're not even really considering, and like you can go explore them and learn. So
That's great.
I'll stop.
Yeah, no, and please provide feedback to us, and I'll definitely take a look at the handbook page to learn more. But we've learned through the rollout of this program that a lot of groups are doing a lot of great things, and so we wanted to formalize and roll it out company-wide, so everyone across GitLab gets the same benefit. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Chad, you have the next question. Do you want to verbalize?
Sure. I was curious if the calibration process, is that a one-time thing that we're doing as we're initially setting this up, or will there be the same sort of recalibration done on every cycle to try to normalize what the different managers are doing?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit more. I'm outside of the dealership now. Thank you, everyone. But we'll do the calibration process each time. And we'll also do it for performance factors, as well as at the end of the manager review process for discretionary increases. So that way we're looking at each step of the process to make sure that there isn't any, we're eliminating bias where we can, and we're calling that out, and we're having those conversations so that before we get to the next step, we've reviewed that piece. And it'll be something that's ongoing. Making sure that we minimize bias for underrepresented groups is really, really important in this process, since there is so much discretion that comes from managers and ratings. And so we want to make sure that, we're doing independent audits where the total rewards team will work with the people business partners who will work with the leadership and the managers, so that there's an audit at every step of the way.
Cool. And a follow-on question related to that. Has there been a lot of changes as part of the calibration process from what managers or self-ratings initially thought? And is there any sort of metrics you're gathering on like how things change and by what extent for underrepresented groups, stuff like that?
So this is the first time that we're running these calibrations company-wide since we're rolling this out. So I don't have historical data to be able to share that's relating to the performance factors versus, a different methodology like Compa Group. But anytime that there have been adjustments, we've worked through those with the people business partners and the leadership teams. I wouldn't want to go into specific details, but we are looking to figure out how we can provide those aggregated metrics so that people can see the output where we can't share the direct inputs into how we're looking at that. So it's definitely a future iteration to come, and a great question.
Thanks.
And just a quick reminder for those that may have joined late, we will be staying on the line throughout the duration of the meeting, but this time is really yours. So please feel free to jump in and verbalize or type a question. And if you don't have any immediate questions and would like time back, you're free to drop. We will be answering questions asynchronously in the docs. You can refer back to see the answers. We also have another office hours later tonight and additional training next week. So wanted to give you the option to drop if you need to.
I just want to say thanks. All of this looks tremendous. It's very exciting, really nicely documented, and appreciate all the transparency and even the extra office hours. So thank you so much.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, looks like most have dropped. Thanks for your help, Josh, in moderating. And I'll talk to you all soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Caroline, for facilitating.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.